Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and we have exciting news in Hearthstone. With the upcoming rotation happening in Standard, which happens every year in April, we are going for the first time ever see wild cards that are either rotated or are being rotated to have their nerfs reverted. That's right, we're actually going to see cards go back to where they once were in their possibly overpowered state. So that's pretty cool news. So I thought I'd take the opportunity here to give my predictions on which 10 cards, as Ixar announced, will be unnerfed. Which 10 cards do I think will be unnerfed? And then I'll give you my 5 cards that I would love to see unnerfed that won't be included in these predictions, and 5 that I just beg Blizzard not to unnerf. They were nerfed for a reason, leave them alone. So we're going to go over 20 cards overall, but 10 predictions, 5 wishes, 5 please knows. Let's start with the predictions. So, as outlined by Ixar himself, there will be 5 wild cards that will be unnerfed, as well as 4 Year of the Raven cards and 1 Year of the Dragon card, which means that card will stay in Standard for 1 more year unnerfed. So that'll be an interesting one to see what it is. So let's start with the wild cards. This includes everything that's rotated a while prior to the Year of the Raven, which is, I believe, from Naxxramas all the way up to, not quite sure actually, it's whatever's before the Witchwood, which I believe is Kobolds and Catacombs, but correct me if I'm wrong. So from any of those sets, but that excludes Standard and Basic, I don't believe any cards from Standard and Basic will be unnerved. So my predictions from Wild, my first one is the Lesser Emerald Spellstone. This is a hunter card. It was originally 5 mana and nerfed to 6. It would upgrade for every secret you would play. It would start as 2/3/3 wolves and cap out at 4. It was moved from 5 to 6. It was just very powerful. And honestly, I think it could possibly... It would be totally fine at 5 in the current Standard meta. I don't even know if it would make a dent. It would actually hurt a deck you sometimes see in Even Hunter. But regardless of that, I think the card is something they probably would like to see some play again, and at 5 mana, I think it would still be reasonable, very powerful, but a more reasonable card. So Lesser Emerald Spellstone, or Emerald Spellstone, it can obviously upgrade as it goes along. So that's my first prediction. Next is a Bone Mare, which was originally a 7 mana 5/5. Give your minions, give a friendly minion +4/+4 and taunt. It was moved up to 8 as it was too cheap, too powerful. I think as it stands, this is a card that, again, I think Blizzard could very well like to see, as they really like their mid-range aggressive-based cards. And honestly, again, a card that probably wouldn't make the cut, but maybe it would. It might help push some decks over the top. So Bone Mare, I think, could easily see a revert as well. Next, this one is being asked for by a lot of people, which is surprising. I don't know if it'll happen, but I'm going to guess it will. And I'm not sure about this one. I'm not sure if it should, but as somebody who played it a lot, I think I'd be okay with it. And that's Rasa the Chained. This is a Priest Legendary Highlander card. 5 mana 5/5. Originally, it made your hero power cost 0 for the rest of the game. And then they increased it to cost 1. The card never saw so much play until Shadow Reaper Anduin was made, and then it created this super crazy combo deck where you could do 1,000,000 damage, and, well, honestly, in line with wild combos, it's pretty much on par with a lot of stuff these days, and, I don't know, they love their Highlander decks. This would really help put Reno Priest back on the map. I played a ton of Highlander Priest. It's like the only Priest deck, or Rasa Priest, that it's the only Priest deck that really ever played a lot, and that's how I got over 2,000 Priest wins, is basically on this deck alone. So I definitely would go back and play it. It's kind of scary to unnerf this one, but I think they might take the risk on this one, and I'll be there to try it. It'll be pretty cool. And then number 4 on my list would be Call of the Wild, another Hunter card. This nerf, when it happened, so this is summon 3 animal companions in one spell. And it originally was 8 and then went to 9. And even when it was nerfed, it was a strong card, but it wasn't in like the most impressive Hunter deck. It was just a good mid-range Hunter deck. I thought it was good, but again, it wasn't impressive. It kind of caught some people off guard. And honestly, the card just feels like it should be 8. Like, at 8, the power level wild, the card would fit in there. And it still probably would see absolutely no play, but I think the card would be cool to unnerf and maybe give it a time. I like the card. I like the flavor. I just thought it's pretty cool. Get all the animal companions. It's always Huffer. So I like it. I hope they unnerf it, and I think they will. And last, and this is the one everyone's been begging for. Everybody wants Yoggsaron Hopes End unnerfed. And, well, I'm pretty sure you're going to get your wish. I mean, the meme content alone it creates. Originally, the card would cast as many spells randomly as many as you would cast that game, period. Whether he died or not. And then they nerfed it so that if he died or transformed himself or silenced himself, he would stop casting. So I think there is a very good chance he is getting unnerfed, and you're going to be able to just Yogg and have the most infinite spells ever. And considering how many more spells they are now, you can just imagine the crazy shenanigans that could occur. And in terms of power level, they nerfed it because it was just too strong. It would actually see insane amount of competitive play. In Wild today, there's just so much better stuff you can do. You don't need that all-in board clear like that because every class either wins the game before then or has better options. I don't think it would see serious play, but it would see play in every Raffle and Solemn deck at rank 5 until the end of time, which is just a lot of fun. So I think they'll unnerf it. I think it's a good idea. I don't see the harm in it. I don't think it's going to become this, like, decide the game card again, which was what the frustrating part was. So I'm down for it. I think it'll happen. So that's the 5 wild cards. Now we know that there's 4 Year of the Raven cards. And honestly, there's not that many that were nerfed. There's just a handful. So I'm going to go over the ones again that I think will be unnerfed. And starting with the one that I would add to my wish list, but I just think for sure it's going to happen, is Dr. Boom Mad Genius. Dr. Boom at 9 mana just seems weird. And originally he cost 7, and then they upped the cost because, well, hero cards are broken, and there was only Dr. Boom and Hagatha at the time. And yeah, it just was too much, so they moved it up to 9. But in Wild, where there's hero cards and Death Knights, Dr. Boom at 7 is still mediocre at best. He would still probably not even see play. I mean, he's not even an Odd Warrior right now. At 7, you might be able to squeak him in because you might have time. But at the same time, it's not going to blow anything out of the water. You've got Gul'dan still. You have Jaina still. You have Deathstalker Rexxar, which sees almost no play and is super powerful. He'll fit in right at home at 7. Boom should be 7. 7 mana, 7 armor, Dr. 7. I predict he'll be unnerfed, and I think that he's one of the large motivators for them even doing this in periods. So good stuff. The next nerf I think they'll revert is Raiding Party. This was originally a rogue spell, 3 mana, draw 2 pirates and a weapon from your deck. It was moved up to 4. This was in, they also nerfed Prep at the same time. And mainly because Prep is nerfed, the Raiding Party nerf is kind of overkill. It killed the card. It's still insane, 3 mana, draw 3, but it's in line with Master's Call and somewhat Crystology and other cards they've made. And in Wild, I think that's fine. With Prep, it still would cost, I believe, 1 mana. You still can't get it for 0. So, and the aggro decks, they like to push, and it would definitely help aggro Kingsbane Rogue. I would not be surprised to see it unnerfed, and that's why I'm predicting it. Yeah, good shot it's going back to 3. And then another one, the next one on the list is Giggling Adventure. Originally, this card was a 5 mana 2/1. Oh, terrible stats, but you would summon 2 Divine Shield or 2 Annoytrons with it. It put Quest Rogue back over the top for the 3rd time. And, well, they didn't want to nerf Quest Rogue for the 3rd time, and it was also a strong card in many other decks. It made Blood Knight meta, okay? So they bumped it up to 7. I think it'll go back to 5. I think the card would actually see quite a bit of play. At 5, it's insane. The card is still, like, busted at 5. I don't know how it was ever 5. It probably should have been 6. If they revert it, it should probably go to 6, but it'll go to 5 and if they're going to revert nerfs. And I think this one will be in that batch, and I think it'll see play. The card's just good, and it can really help against anti-aggro. It could be an anti-aggro card, and it can also be an aggressive card. So I think it'll be unnerfed, and I think I'm okay with it. It's a little bit sketchy, but I think it's okay, and I'd be surprised if it's not. The next card that I predict will get nerfed from the Year of the Raven is Extra Arms, a pre-spell, 3 mana, give your minion +2/+2, which was then buffed to a 2 mana spell, which give your minion +2/+2, all while adding an Extra Arms to your hand, which would do the same thing. And then Combo Priest got a little out of control, so they reverted the buff and made it 3 mana. And well, I think there's a good chance it'll go back to 2. Combo Priest in Wild is not terrible, not great, and could, I guess, use this as an extra tool. It's a pretty obnoxious deck, but again, it's Wild. I think it would be okay. And it's, I think the direction they wanted with this card originally, it just was too much in Standard, and in Wild would be more reasonable. So I would add this as the card as well to be unnerfed. And last, there is 1 Year of the Dragon card that they will be unnerfing. So this card will remain in Standard for a year, back in its original state. And for me, I truly believe it'll be Invocation of Frost. This is the Yoggsaron Shaman card, originally a 1 mana spell that would freeze a minion and invoke. And the invoke is a 2/1 rush. They increased it to 2 mana, as the deck, again, the Yoggsaron Shaman was out of control for 2 sets of nerfs. Like, insanely powerful, to the point of how did that get through playtesting. I did a Reddit post on it. I'll actually leave that in the link below if you want to check that, or in the description below. But eventually, through 2 series of nerfs, they killed the deck. It's complete trash. So maybe they don't want it to be complete trash, and I believe with the Spirit of the Frog rotating to Wild, Invocation of Frost in Standard is probably a lot more reasonable, as it won't let you cycle through your entire deck and easily get to your Yoggsaron, which is fully invoked on curve. The main problem and enabler of Invocation of Frost was Spirit of the Frog, which probably should have been nerfed instead, but wasn't. And this will be, if they do, as I predict, revert this nerf, Yoggsaron Shaman in Wild all of a sudden is not bad. I hit Legend with the unnerfed Yoggsaron Shaman in Wild with 2 wild cards. The deck was crazy there too. So there's a good chance it could be very powerful there, but I mean, there's tons of powerful stuff to do in Wild, and I think that's okay. So my prediction is Invocation of Frost, just to make Yoggsaron Shaman a bit more playable, without Spirit of the Frog to really cycle through and get all that stuff. And there's still the nerf to Corrupt Elementalist and Dragon's Pact. It's still probably not going to be insane like it used to be. I think it's safe, and I think I'd be okay with it. It'll be a very strong card again, and the deck could be relatively strong, but again, I think that's okay. Decks can be strong, just they can't be completely overpowered and polarizing like the prior one was. So those are what I predict Blizzard will do. Let's go over the unnerfs that I want to see, that I would like to see. Although some of these I do, the predictions, such as Dr. Boom, I'm going to highlight 5 cards that I would like to see unnerfed. So starting with number 1, Serenite Chain Gang. Originally, this was a 4 mana 2/3 taunt, summon a copy of itself, and then it was changed to 4 mana 2/3 battle cry taunt, summon another Serenite Chain Gang. So basically, it wasn't a copy; it was just another 2/3. This killed Keleseth decks pretty much. It killed Soul Infusion, and it killed Shudderwalk Shaman. So you'd be like, well, now Shudderwalk Shaman can come back. It's already a thing in Wild. You can already play it. Doppelgangster has the same effect. You can even do it with Faceless Corruptor. The effect is there in multiple ways, and this was just a very strong card, whether it be aggressive or you could play it defensively. It's a cool card. It can bring Keleseth back, which I don't really want, but again, it's Wild, that's fine. I think the card's pretty cool. You could do fun stuff with it, hand buffing, all these things, and I wouldn't mind seeing come back. Shudderwalk Shaman just felt like a Wild deck, and I think it would be fine in Wild. So let's go with that. Serenite Chain Gang. Number 2, and you'll hate me for this, a lot of you, but I don't care. This card should not be unnerfed. Let's put it frank. This card should not be unnerfed. But it's my baby, and it was massacred because of Juicy Psych Melon. Avianna. I would love to see Avianna unnerfed. Bring her back down to 9. The problem with this... Okay, the reason I want to unnerf is I love Malydruid. Malydruid is my favorite deck of all time. It's super fun, it's awesome, and the problem with them unnerfing this is it won't make Malydruid good. It'll make Aligner Druid amazing again, and completely oppressive again, most likely. But I don't care. I want to play Mally Druid. It was awesome. But they shouldn't do it. They shouldn't unnerf this card. It's more of just a guilty wish. But I really love playing Mally Druid with Mally, Ixlid. I made that. That was my creation. One of my only like wild creations that I did. I hit rank 2 legend with it. I had a blast. I played it like thousands of games. So I'd love to see Avianna unnerf so that they can nerf Psych Melon and fix that card, because it's Melon's fault. It's the stupid Melon. It's not Avianna. Leave my girl alone. She did nothing wrong. But it probably shouldn't be unnerfed. But I'm wishing for it. You can't deal with it. Next, third wish is Dark Pact. Let's make Warlock stronger. Dark Pact, I don't know. I just like the Q block days. I feel like healing in Wild is a lot more valuable, and 1 mana destroy your minion, gain 8 health is pretty insane. It originally, so this card originally was 1 mana, destroy a minion, gain 8 health, and now it's 1 mana, gain 4 health, destroy a minion. I just feel like it'd make things fun again with Q block. The card isn't really run, and I still think Void Caller needs to be addressed, and I will be addressing that in a video coming forward. So I think with this card, if you could unnerf it, you could do the Spiteful Summoner stuff at 6 mana, right? Like that, or Possessed Lackey, sorry. You could do stuff with that at 6 mana, and I think this one is more of like an unnerf I would like to see for future reasons, because I do think Void Caller at some point has to be addressed in Wild, and then you could do really cool stuff with Dark Pact again. Because then the healing is a lot more necessary if you slow the deck down. So this is more of a wish for when I believe, in the future when Void Caller will get looked at, and I hope it will. So it's a cool card. I love the effect. You sacrifice a minion to get a bunch of health, and it brings me back to good old days with Q block. And last on my list of wishes from the wild card set is Steed. This card was murdered for no reason. I don't understand it. They changed this card so that it couldn't go infinite with Defile, but Grim Patron exists, and it could go infinite with Wild. They capped the animation loops on it. It never made sense to me. And originally Steed was a 4-mana 1/1, and it would come back to life immediately after dying. And now it comes back at the end of your turn. I would just revert it back to what it was and let the stupid meme decks come back. It was never good. You just did stupid stuff with it, and bring that back. The card is super flavorful and awesome and fun. Just bring it back. I don't get it unless there's some game-breaking bug that they still have yet to address, because the Defile cap exists, the Grim Patron loop exists. Bring back Steed. So I put that on my wish list. The card is really cool. I'd like to see it come back. And then I have one more wish list. I have nothing from Year of the Raven, by the way. I want to see unnerfed. Except Boom, which is already on my prediction list, but nothing else from there. But Year of the Dragon, I don't know if unnerf Sledge Slurper. This card was just caught in the crossfires. Galakron Shaman was insane. Well, Sledge Slurper has a high win rate because it's a 1-drop played on 1. We'll nerf that. That wasn't the core problem with the card. So Sledge Slurper was a 1-mana 2/1 Murloc, overload 1, get a random lackey, and then they made it a 1/1. They made the card terrible when the card was never the problem with Galakron Shaman or Quest Shaman. It was a very strong card, but the Quest was the problem in Quest, and Galakron and the easiness of getting to a fully invoked 16/16 rush was the issue, not the Slurper Boy. I'd bring him back as a 2/1. But I think it'll be left to Invocation of Frost. But I like my little Slurper Boy. I don't like lackeys, but the Slurper Boy is alright. He was kind of cool. I'd unnerf him. He did nothing wrong. It wasn't his fault. Just come on. Let him come back. So those are the 5 cards I would like to see unnerfed. I don't think they will, but I would like to see it. And now I have 5 that, please, for the love of all that is everything, do not unnerf these cards. Now, there are a reason you nerf cards, okay? There are a reason you nerf cards, because they're broken. They slip through the cracks. It was an oversight. Whoops, we screwed up. We nerfed it. Let's kill it. It's never going to happen again, okay? So these are 5 of these cards. Just don't unnerf them. It will only lead to terrible, terrible things. So number one, Barnes. For the why I've seen some crazy people want Barnes back. So Barnes was originally a 4-mana 3/4, summon a 1/1 copy from your deck. Well, that made Barnes into Yashiraj Secret Hunter a thing, as well as, or a Spell Hunter thing, and of course Big Priest. I mean, you played Barnes on 4 as Big Priest, you win the game. And my God, we have to pull teeth and beg and plead and basically riot on Reddit for like 2 years. 2 years begging for this card to be nerfed. And we got every excuse in the book that Billy Joe, who plays in casual, will get upset because he can't play his favorite deck anymore because Barnes is nerfed, or it's not that oppressive, the win rate isn't that great, or just they came up with whatever. And then they finally made him 5 mana. Keep him that way. People still play Big Priest, by the way. It's still like the most popular deck from like rank 15 to 5. I'm not even kidding. It is still super popular, despite the fact that Billy Bob lost Barnes and somehow didn't quit the game. Funny how that worked. Leave Barnes unnerfed. Let him rot. Sorry, concerned mom. I don't care. No Barnes. Next, Caverns Below. The Rogue Quest, the original Rogue Quest. This originally was play 4 minions of the same type, same name, and your reward was the Crystal Core, which made all of your minions 5/5. This was then nerfed to make 5 minions, play 5 minions of the same name, get 5/5s, and then it was nerfed again to make it that you have to play 5 minions and they're 4/4s. The deck is the most toxic thing I think they have ever created. It's been universally hated. When it's powerful, it's just disgusting and unfun to play in every regard. Let this thing stay. You nerfed it like twice directly and once indirectly with giggling. Don't even think about it. If you think about it, Team 5, I will come for you. You do not want this angry fat man coming after you, alright? So don't do it. Next on the list, Nagas Sea Witch. Originally, a 5-mana 5/5, your cards cost 5. It was never that broken, and then they made a patch during Knights of the Frozen Throne, where they intentionally changed the card so that everything gets the discount applied afterwards, which it didn't work. So all of a sudden, your Mountain Giants, which would cost 5, now cost 0. Your Sea Giants cost 0. Your Clockwork Giants cost 0. So you could just get a bunch of Giants, play Naga on 5, and play like 8,000 Giants for 0 mana and immediately win the game. This was intentional, by the way, and not an oversight that they didn't want to fix, and then just claimed it as such. And then eventually they nerfed it to 9 mana. Right. Intentional, my ass. Anyways, it warped the meta horribly. It just led to, oh, you win the game on 5 or 4 with the coin. Don't bring the shit back. Just don't. It's terrible. It's horrible. We basically have this deck now with Darkest Hour, which needs to go. Don't make another Abomination come back. It's awful. Don't unnerf it. Please don't. So those are the wild cards I wouldn't unnerf. There's 2 Year of the Raven cards I would also not unnerf. As for Year of the Dragon, I don't really have anything on there. I think everything that they nerfed is rightfully, should just not. Just nothing really stands out as scary to me. I'm going to leave Year of the Dragon off. Maybe we can revisit that at another time, but I'm going to go with Year of the Raven, as there's 2 more standouts to me. The next being Luna's Pocket Galaxy. So this card originally, which is its unnerfed state, or its nerf state right now, came into the game as a 7-mana legendary spell. Make all the minions in your deck cost 1, which didn't see much play at the time. But with all the insane cards, well, anyways, it didn't see much play at the time, okay? At 7 mana. It was too slow. It wasn't that great. People tried doing OTK decks with it. It didn't work, whatever. So then there was the buff event, and they made it 5 mana, and it completely broke the game. It's in my most hated Year of the Raven cards video. I've gone into great detail how it was, I can't believe they even buffed it. It was insane. Good God. And then they pretty quickly realized their mistake, and about a month or so later, they nerfed it back to 7. And that's where it needs to stay. Honestly, I would delete the card. it's just awful. But regardless, don't make it 5. When it was 5, Frobro made this deck in Wild. It was a 28 minion mage. Or no, 29 minion mage. You just ran Pocket, you ran the Raven that could tutor a spell, you ran your the 4-mana 3/3, which would Piper that would draw your Raven, and you would almost always play Galaxy on 5, and then you would just play your Cold Lights, you'd play Luna, and you would just win the game. It was insane. Like, the deck was actually pretty OP, but we didn't really figure it out until really quickly until it was nerfed. But myself and Fro had like insane win rates with it. I got Cryptoplate after it was nerfed. He had insane win rates with it. Let's leave Luna's at 7. It's just, you don't want the game to break at 5. And plus you can Glyph this, and it's a 3-cost card. There's way more ways to cheat mana in Wild. And the more things that get made, the more broken this card will get. Just leave it at 7. Even there, it's seeing some play in Wild right now at 7. We did a video on Triple Reno Mage that ran the card at 65% win rate with it. It's fine at 7. Don't make it 5. And last on the list, and most recently, the most recent meta warping deck in Wild that needs to stay unnerfed is Snip Snap. The card is a 3-mana 2/3 mech, Death Rattle, summon 2/1/1 Microbots. It also has Magnetic and Echo, and it was recently nerfed that the Echo can't cost less than 1. So it can't cost 0, right? Yeah. It costs 1 or more. English is hard. So if we decide to make it unnerfed again, then we have Snip Snap Warlock again. We're not very far removed from that. I can't imagine they would ever do that, revert that, this right now. But let's just put it out there. We don't want Snip Lock back. We're already dealing with Darkest Hour and Mech Cthulhu and Q-Block, all of which are kind of issues that we will talk about in a video very shortly. But Snip Snap, stay snipped, stay snapped, stay where you are. You're already a completely busted card that sees play in tons of decks. Will continue to see play in tons of decks. Stay nerfed. Just don't do it. So those are the 10 predictions, the 5 cards that I would like to see nerfed or unnerfed, and the 5 cards that I plead that don't get unnerfed. If you agreed, disagreed, have your own ideas, let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. We are ever slowly growing towards 500 subs, and I'm getting pretty excited. So thank you guys for all the support. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'm excited to see what all these reverted nerfs will be like, how it'll affect the Wild meta. So cool stuff, Blizzard. Glad you're doing it. Hopefully you don't make the game worse like you did with the buffs, but hey, you gotta keep trying. You'll get there eventually. You'll figure it out. I believe in you. Yeah, totally. Have a good one, everyone, and stay salty, my friends.